All right, we're back here. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. 609-919-9200 is the telephone number if you want to hop on board with us. 418 is the time as we broadcast back to the Princeton Orthopedic Associate Studios as we're outside of Arm & Hammer Park for the Trenton Thunder game. What a report last night by the Star-Telegram. And this is a very messy situation, and it makes the NFL look very bad, in my opinion, with their past history. So let's go down to Dallas. 105.3, the fans' very own RJ Choppy has been on with us a bunch of times to talk about the Cowboys and also this situation with Ezekiel Elliott. He's kind enough to hop back on board with us. RJ, appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much, and how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Zach?
Well, I'm doing great. So this story last night, it's once again the NFL making a bunch of claims and the NFLPA. But Ezekiel Elliott's camp says that Kia Roberts, who did talk to Thompson and is a lead investigator, recommended 0 games, and the NFL won 6 games. And the NFL says, oh, no, Roger Goodell did hear what Roberts had to say. This is a mess once again, and the NFL is in another litigious situation. What do you think Goodell knew? Do you believe that he actually talked to Kia Roberts or heard about her report?
Well, I mean, I find it hard to believe that Roger Goodell would make a ruling and not at least hear, not necessarily hear from her face to face, but at least read her findings. I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes no sense for the NFL. In that story by the Star-Telegram, it said the NFL banned Kia Roberts from the meeting.
Yeah.
That doesn't make much sense at all. Why would you ban? Like, using the word ban is really weird to me. But the other part of that is, like, I really find it hard to believe that Roger Goodell would not even take the person who interviewed her, the only person who interviewed Tiffany Thompson, the accuser. I find it really hard to believe that he would not even read their findings. So I do think that he read what she wrote or read what she had to say. He may have not have had an official meeting with her.
Okay, so in this article it says, when NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell conducted a meeting to discuss discipline for Elliott, it included Lisa Friel, the Senior Vice President for Investigations, Jeff Pash, Executive VP and General Counsel, and Adolfo Birch, the Senior Vice President of Labor Policy and Government Affairs, among others. I'm with you. You would think with how many situations they have messed up in the past, they would get this one right. But why wasn't she at this meeting?
I don't know. I really don't know. Apparently, she recommended that there's nothing there, that he not be suspended, and or at least that the accuser's not a credible witness. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Nobody that I've been able to talk to, and we've had a few guys on that are legal experts and that are close to the story. None of them can figure out why she wasn't at that meeting. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But like, it also is kind of crazy to think, like, this isn't the only time Roger Goodell thought about this. I mean, he thought about this more than just this time. He had more than one meeting about this, I'm sure. I mean, it may not have been formal, but it's not like he took all the information from this one particular meeting and that's it. Like, he never read about it at all. That's kind of crazy. The problem that sticks with a lot of people around here is Lisa Friel. There's stories about her that she is like a Giants super fan. She has a room in her house painted all Giants colors. She loses her voice on Sunday at Giants home games. And she's the lead investigator for this. A lot of Cowboy fans are upset by that. They think it's a little bit, kind of fishy. Josh Brown gets one game, and he admitted to this. Zeke Elliott gets 6, and the lead investigator recommends that you can't even use Tiffany Thompson's testimony because it's uncredible. And it just kind of strikes everyone as an oddity part of the story.
Yeah, and this is something that is not really unique for the NFL because even in Deflategate, Mike Kensel used to have ties with the Jets, and there's been reports about that situation that Kensel was out to get the Patriots in that. So that's an ugly situation. You would hope that those professionals that are put into place would put their allegiances, would put their fandom behind, and would just operate and make a decision based off the facts of this case. But here's the bizarre thing with me. If this is true, and according to the reports that are, that Roberts said no games, how did the NFL get to 6?
Because the NFL at the end of the day, they had to make a statement. I mean, I do believe, and it was next man up. A lot of the Cowboy fans think it's anti-Cowboy. I really don't think it's anti-Cowboy. I think it's just that whoever the next man up was going to be, they were going to make a statement on it. And going into all this, the NFL made their minds up long before Kia Roberts interviewed Tiffany Thompson. They had to make a statement. There's thought they were getting some pressure from some owners that, hey, you've got to make a statement with the Cowboys. They're the biggest dog. If you do that, it'll send a message throughout the league. I don't know how much I buy that, but that's some of the stuff that we've been hearing. So, look, I don't know that it was anything other than they knew they had to get this one right, or at least give off the perception that they're hard on and they're tough on crime, they're tough on domestic violence, and they were just going to levy 6 games domestic violence to whoever came up next, guilty or innocent. And unfortunately for the NFL, it came literally with the least credible accuser you could possibly find, and a guy willing to fight it. And they are. And you got to. And Zeke Elliott, his parents are on social media. He's on it. His teammates are on it. I mean, you couldn't have found a worse guy to have this happen to from the NFL's perspective.
And we're talking to RJ Choppy right now on the Zach Gelb Show. And I've told you before, I don't think Ezekiel Elliott is a choir boy, but in this situation, if he did this, given the 6 games, if he didn't, he shouldn't serve a single game, and he clearly believes that he didn't do anything. Your gut in this case tells you what? What did your gut tell you about this?
About whether he did it or not, or about what's going to happen?
Whether he did it or not.
You know, that's gray. I mean, I do think something happened. I don't know what, but I think something did happen. I mean, look, I mean, he could have been, he could have been in a very toxic relationship where they both fight each other left and right, and this is, something that got out of hand, and it wasn't necessarily domestic violence. It was a fight, and that could have been that. It could have been real live. This guy, beat her up, and that's, it could have been something completely, just random from that. And there's word that, they were in some kind of a odd relationship from the start anyway, the way the relationship was. So, I mean, my gut tells me something did happen. I don't know if it's strict domestic violence, but I do think something did happen. She had the bruises from somewhere. She had the bruises somehow.
With this new evidence that the NFL says, have you heard anything about this new evidence?
I haven't. All we've heard all day was new evidence, but we haven't seen exactly what it is. And, that's kind of weird. It's like if the NFL had new evidence, we've heard everything else. We've heard all these leaks coming from the league in the last, 12 hours. Where's the new evidence? Like the new evidence, you would think it would be, front and center, but we haven't seen it.
No, you're exactly right. And you look at these situations before, it's tough to believe the NFL. It really is, because look what they knew about Josh Brown, and they only gave him 1 game. And the NFL, they got to get this right, and that's what I keep on going back on. And when this came out, I'm always skeptical of the NFL, but since they went to this extreme 6 games and they said that new evidence, you would have to think they would have some damaging evidence, but why not release that evidence?
Yeah, you would think they would want all the good PR on their side.
Right.
And I know that this isn't a PR case, at least it shouldn't be, but it's coming out to be one. And, that's the unfortunate thing, is that the NFL, they've got a PR disaster on their hands. And they've had one since Ray Rice. And they're trying to make – I get it. I get it. Overpunish, go to the appeal, and let them reduce it. Okay, maybe that's their plan the whole time. I totally understand that. But make sure the guys make sure everyone is on board with your decision. And obviously, Kia Roberts, one of the lead investigators, the only one who interviewed Tiffany Thompson, was not on board with this. And, you've got to listen to her. If she doesn't think, if you hire these people that you have under you for a reason to do the job. If you're going to ask them to do the job and you're not going to, pay attention to it, then what are you hiring them for? And there's 2 things that Roger Goodell, to me, didn't do. The biggest mistakes that he made in this. One, he didn't have Kia Roberts in the meeting with the other investigators. And 2, he never once sat in a room and interviewed the accuser, Tiffany Thompson. How does that happen? How do you judge something when you don't even listen to everything the accuser says. I don't know how you do that.
RJ Choppy with us from 105.3 The Fan. You get the perspective down in Dallas. That's why we want you on today. Jerry Jones, how do you think he's been handling this situation?
Well, he kind of bumbled this in the beginning because he said there was nothing there. But rumor has it is that he was told from Kia, that Kia Roberts said there's nothing here, and that's why he went down that road saying nothing's there. But he's upset. He still is. He was blindsided by the decision. He probably hasn't handled it the best because he has let emotion get to this. And, the one thing Jerry's always said, never let your money get mad. And his money, it's gotten mad right now. And Jerry's been upset from this. But, outside of the initial comments that there's nothing to see here, I think he's handling it okay.
What do you think ends up happening here? Does Ezekiel Elliott, how many games do you think he plays this year? Does he serve the suspension this year? Or does this turn into a Brady manner where he gets the injunction and then he ending up probably serving the suspension the next year? Because still by the CBA, the NFL has all the power, and that was made clear from the Brady case.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing because, they filed it in a Texas court hoping that, they get some kind of homer, like home cooking. But look, I think he plays in game one against the Giants. What happens after that, it'll wind up being like a 14-day stay. And what happens after that is up to, the courts, obviously. And look, Henderson may come back and say 2 games. The arbiter may say 2 games, and the Cowboys may drop it. Take it 2 games and move on. But I honestly think that long-term he plays against the Giants. And then after that, it could be one of these Brady situations that lasts another year.
If the appeal does go in his favor, what do you think the low point is that Ezekiel Elliott would accept and just serve the suspension instead of making this a more of a litigious manner?
Well, people around the team are saying 0 is the only thing I'll accept because the label – the genie's out of the bottle. Like, he's labeled a domestic abuser for the rest of his life. Whether or not the NFL comes back and says otherwise – you can't take that back. And that's unfortunate. And that's something that Zeke can say and claim irreparable harm maybe because of his earning power in the league. And if he is suspended, all the guarantees in his contract go away per the league rules. So that's a problem for him. And endorsements become a problem for him. So he has a real gripe. I look at it, though, like, we followed the Pete Rose situation. He had a inappropriate sexual relationship with a minor back in the 70s. That only came out because he filed a defamation lawsuit against Jim Dowd. That doesn't come out otherwise. If Zeke were to take the NFL to court, there are casualties that are involved in that, including Zeke. Like, you don't want to go to court. Everything becomes open and public. And there may be things in his closet that he does not want to have open. And maybe there isn't, but maybe there is. And if there is, man, I take my 2 games and I run. I know in my closet I take my 2 games and I run. There's some things I don't want everything out there about me. Oh, my text messages, everything. You never know what happens. People can make things up. You don't know. So I would not go to court.
But here's the thing. If he thinks he's actually innocent, I would take this the entire way. But then I'd also have that in the back of my mind in terms of collecting game checks this year. I think if he gets any type of reduction in this appeal, I think you just take the suspension. You'd have to think because, like I said with the Brady case, it's night and day. It's very clear. The NFL could do whatever they want regardless of the evidence.
They could. And now, like the 6 games aspect, they already went down the road of saying domestic violence. If they had just said personal conduct, 4 games, I don't think we're looking at the same because Zeke had some off-the-field issues that legitimately were personal conduct violations. The St. Patrick's Day incident, there was a bar fight a couple weeks ago.
No question.
So the NFL could have legitimately said, look, this guy's got a pattern of behavior. The domestic violence aspect, they were going for the big fish. They were going for the headline grab, and it bit them. It bit them because they didn't do it properly. They may not have followed their own protocol, and they probably got a guy, or may have gotten a guy anyway, who didn't do it. At least that's what the investigation is finding from the National Football League.
How does the NFL make these types of situations better? Because whenever we go down these roads, it gets very sticky. And this looks like a very sticky situation. You would think after the last few years where they've just been embarrassed, that they'd be able to get this right at this point?
Man, I don't know how they keep doing this. I mean, like, you would think that a league, like a $10 billion a year organization.
Especially with their resources, exactly.
Yeah, like they know what like you don't get to a $10 billion a year organization by not knowing what you're doing. And if you go down that league office, they've got lawyers and everywhere. Roger Goodell's the son of a senator. You know, he's not some kid from, you know, just went to high school and, you know, finished after 10th grade and said, you know, I'm done. I'm going to go, you know, whatever. He comes from a well-to-do family, and, you know, this is not just some guy off the street. It's Roger Goodell, and he's got guys and women who work with him who are not just, you know, coming in here with entry-level positions and saying, hey, I'll do it, I'll invest. No. Like Kia Roberts is Vanderbilt Law, Duke University, long-time practicing law. Lisa Friel, same thing. Investigations. I mean, these aren't random people. These are professionals. And they still can't get it right. I don't get it.
And we know they're always going to want to control the narrative, but they look very hypocritical because in this case, they have this evidence which they have not released yet. But in the Josh Brown case, we didn't see that evidence. Or the Ray Rice case, we didn't see the tape. It's hard to believe the NFL in this one. And you know me, with Ezekiel Elliott, I've said it before. I thought that the NFL got this one right originally, and I look like the fool now because it's so ambiguous.
Oh, look, this whole thing is such a mess. I don't think anybody looks like a fool other than the people involved. You know, any kind of speculation that that any of us have had is just that, because all these reports are either wrong, incomplete, or just a mess. And we all get information essentially from the same handful of people in the media that pass out the information from the National Football League. And that's just the reality. I mean, it's the same 8 to 10 people that pass out all the NFL's information. And they're all coming from the same sources. And the sources were wrong. Or the sources this time bit the NFL in the butt because these guys had no idea what was going on, evidently. They botched the interview, the initial interview. They botched the meeting by not having the lead investigator involved with it. And they botched this whole situation by telling the world that he's being suspended for domestic violence when the lead investigator said you can't trust what this witness says. So we can't even say domestic violence. Especially when the courts say domestic violence didn't even happen.
New Jersey's own RJ Choppy. Great stuff. Now dominating the radio in Dallas. Appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks, Zach. Anytime.
Thanks so much. RJ Choppy with us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports, 920 The Jersey. All right. This situation with the NFL, I can't tell you one way or another. I can't tell you if Ezekiel Elliott's guilty. I can't tell you if he's innocent. And I saw the pictures with the bruising, and this is a situation where the witness is extremely, from what it appears from all the reading I've done on this, she does not seem credible, texting a friend, telling her to lie. This is a type of a situation right now. It is another one where it's just ugly for the National Football League. Because if they got this one wrong, and this is the one that they went to 6 games, it's an embarrassing look for them. They need to get these things right. And time in and time again, they get these things wrong. And usually, they go on the low side of things. Ray Rice 2 games. Or they give Josh Brown 1 game. And then more damaging evidence comes out. In this case, they went to the extreme, and then you read this report in the Star-Telegram. If this is true, it's laughable, absolutely laughable that the NFL would be this incompetent, that you would have Roberts who talked to Tiffany Thompson, and she said, go 0 games. And then the NFL goes 6? We must be missing something here. The NFL, they say they have more evidence. But we got to see what this evidence is. Because right now, this looks like a PR disaster, again, for the National Football League. And I have a feeling Ezekiel Elliott, unless if they come back from the appeal and they say, we're going to reduce the suspension. I have a feeling this thing's going to play out, and we're going to be talking about this probably this time next year. I have a feeling now Ezekiel Elliott's going to play this season because last night him and his counsel, they file a lawsuit. The NFLPA filed it on his behalf up against the NFL. This is a sticky situation. And right now, from what came from the Star-Telegram, does not make the NFL look very good. Because in this Star-Telegram report, it says Roberts' recommendation never made it to the NFL's final report or the official suspension letter on August 11th, which cited the league's finding of 3 instances of domestic violence by Elliott against Thompson based on the victim's testimony and photographic evidence. When NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell conducted a meeting to discuss discipline for Elliott, it included Lisa Friel, Jeff Pash, and Adolfo Birch. You do not have Roberts in this meeting. And if they barred her and they banned her from this meeting, that makes 0 sense to me. And I told you, when this first came out, I said, Ezekiel Elliott, if he committed this, give him the 6 games. Because the NFL in the past, they've seen things and they have not gone the 6-game route. But now I don't know what to believe. Because I started to believe the NFL because they said they had this evidence. We got to see what that evidence is. And it needs to be damaging. But Ezekiel Elliott, we know he's not a choir boy. We know the situation, what happened, him on the roof deck bar. It was stupid. We also, you have the reports about the fight at the bar where he broke a guy's nose. So I'm not defending Ezekiel Elliott. And something may have happened here, but we don't know with 110% certainty. We just don't know. And this situation, the NFL continues to look bad, so we'll see how it plays out. But I have to imagine, this is how I would look at it. Your personal feelings, you have to understand if they're going to get in the way. Because if you're Ezekiel Elliott, and if this arbitrator comes back and he says, I'm going to give you 4 games, or I'm going to give you 3 games, inside you may say, if you really believe you didn't do anything, why should I serve a single game? But you need to know in the back of your head, seeing how this played out over the last 2 years with Tom Brady, they had more probable than not on Brady. They did not have this great evidence on Tom Brady. And this went through a long process where eventually Brady realized he can't win. He just can't. Because the NFL and Roger Goodell has the final say. This is going to be a messy CBA battle in a few years. It is. Because Goodell, his track record's not good on this. And the Players Association has to be getting fed up. But this situation, all I ask for is just for the NFL to get it right. And I can't tell you right now if they got this thing right or not. There's a lot of ambiguity in this case. 609-9199-D200, Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, outside of Arm & Hammer Park, getting ready for the Trenton Thunder game coming up later tonight up against Reading. Let's take a break right now. We'll come on back. We'll talk some Eagles, and we'll also hear a little bit from CC Sabathia complaining last night about the Red Sox bunting. We'll get into that next.